What have you been up to?
We came I came as a participant at this year's IVLP program, International Visitors Leadership Program, but it's basically under the Edward Murrow Program for Journalists in the US, sponsored by the US State Department. And we basically spent about 21 days in the US from state to state. We started in Washington, and then we went to Baltimore, Philadelphia.
Visiting media houses?
Media houses, and we ended in Salt Lake City, where it all ended.
In Utah?
Yes, and basically it's an exchange program and for us to come and learn about US society and the culture and the media as well. Yeah.
And so you operate in Sierra Leone. What kind of work do you do in Sierra Leone?
Our work is basically to protect free speech and free media and promote that, and also to cater for the welfare of the members, look out for opportunities for training, to build their capacities, and those sort of things. Yes, that's what we do basically. And to do that, we have to engage with donor partners, international community, to get funding for training and those sort of things. It's basically a non-voluntary job. We are not paid, and we are a not-for-profit association as well. We don't make money. We don't get money we don't go into ventures to make money. Yeah.
Okay. So what are some of the things that you learned on your trip here in the US about how the media works, the media environment, the media landscape, as an information, as a creator of content, but also as a consumer of content?
Yeah, well, basically I admire the diversity of the media here, and I also admire the ability of the media here to evolve and adapt to the advancement in technology that is taking place here, very rapid. And I also admired the fact that in spite of all the challenges that they have, because they also have problems with the media, and in spite of all that, there's a determination generally for journalists to strive and media houses to strive to do truthful journalism. Truthful journalism in the sense that journalism is a mission, and you have to hold officials to account. You have to provide accurate information for the public, and you also have to be the voice of the voiceless. So those three main things, the media here basically put them as priority. And I also admire the focus on local news, on local communities. What is not happening in Africa, in our own places where we come from. Everything is about national news, about politics, but here the media is now trying to adapt and see what they can do to bring up the needs of the local communities.
Local community stories.
Because there is so much happening there, and people need to see themselves in the media and tell their stories in the media that operates in their locality. So those are the big things for me.
And what are some of the lessons that you will be taking back home to Sierra Leone?
Well, back home, I think those are the messages that we will take back, and to understand that the media continues to evolve. It's very dynamic, and we need to try to adapt as things change. And we also need to find new models on how to do journalism, because there's a general decline in the trust for legacy media everywhere, not just in our countries, but even here. And so people need to find the media needs to find new ways of getting that trust and confidence from the public, that they should rely on them for information that they need to make informed decisions. And so those are the things I will go back home, and also to help my own to appeal to my own colleagues as well to begin to focus on community journalism. That is very key, because those are the people that we need to report on. Those are the people who are powerless and whose issues need to be at the front of their front pages, and to ensure that the policymakers see those news stories and take action.
Now let's talk about access. I mean, when I was in Sierra Leone, I've been there twice in 2015 and 2016. Got a robust media environment. That's many years ago. I think things have evolved. Before we get into media freedom and how you operate, let's talk about access. How do most Sierra Leoneans consume information? Is it through TV or radio?
Well, because of the rates of illiteracy that we have is high, and then the bulk of the population, mostly in the rural areas, depend on radio for their information. But now we see the young population, there's a general increase. There's some increase also from the 2018 elections to now. We see a trend of young people getting into social media, which is very popular now, WhatsApp and Facebook, and now TikTok. So those are the main channels for young people.
So online?
Yes, online information, yes. It's very, very active now, and the numbers are growing. And yes, so those but TV also is yes, it depends on the taste of the audience, but then TV also is very popular because people listen to TV, but radio is the most popular. And now where we get most of the information now, basically among young people, is social media.
I would imagine people in rural areas still listen to radio more than they watch TV or even access to internet. What are some of the limitations to access to information?
Well, for the internet and for the online and social media, it's basically affordability. That's one, and because the smartphones are expensive, and the other one is electricity. People we don't have 24-hour electricity, and so it's difficult for these smartphones and this media to be on active and charged and this sort of things. And even for TV, that's why those in the provinces could not have access to the news as they would want to because of lack of electricity. So those are some of the challenges and affordability. Yeah.
And what is the state of media freedom in the country? Are journalists able to practice their craft free without fear of intimidation or reprisal?
Yeah, there will always be intimidation and fear, but generally the environment is reasonably free. Let me put it into some perspective, into categories. Let's start with legislation. Before now, we have what we call the criminal libel law, criminal and seditious libel law, which was contained in the Public Order Act of 1965. That law criminalizes free speech, and that has been a very like a sort of Damocles on our head for 50 years. And so in 2022, we succeeded in engaging the government in dialogue in Parliament, and it was repealed in 2020. That is a big and historic movement for us, because it took us 50 years, because LAJ was founded in 1971, and so we got that. And then so that's basically now we don't have any, because when we had that law, every week I as president of LAJ and my predecessors, they have to go to the CID to get a journalist release. To get a journalist release, because the police will.
Anybody could sue.
Yes, as long as you publish something critical of the government or a public official, they'll call the police, and the police will invite you to the CID, and normally they invite you on a Friday, and then they lock you up on a Friday, and then you'll be there on weekends, and then by Monday, SLJA will be there to release you. But since that law was passed, we have not got any incident like that anymore. So that's one freedom we have. And but unfortunately, the following year, in 2021, the government passed the Cybersecurity and Crime Act.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Which basically takes back some of the freedom that we thought we had achieved with the repeal. And so, but basically, the cybersecurity law was basically to counter terrorism, illicit financing, money laundering, those sort of things. And there are some aspects of also to get a responsible social media use of social media.
But you feel there is an overreach?
Yes, there's an overreach. We are concerned because we don't want anything that will infringe on the freedom of people to express their opinions, which basically people have now with social media. And so that is our concern, because we also contributed to the law, in getting the law passed, because we
were consulted by the government.
Consulted by the government. We made our position clear, and we raised those concerns as well, and said that we do not want the police or the law enforcement agencies to manipulate the law, to use this as a pretext to yes, exactly, to get people.
Let me ask you about the population itself, in terms of understanding the role of the media, of the press. Do you feel like the public in Sierra Leone understands your role as a journalist?
That's the problem. You know, now we have citizen journalism, and we have social media. Everybody can create content with a smartphone and be out there. So there is a whole lot of confusion. So yes, but they don't understand. That is why what we're trying to do is to ensure that we embark on media literacy and public education, because people need to understand how the media works, how we work, and how they should consume news. And how, because if they understand how they produce news, and they will be able to know how to consume news and how to discern what news they should consume, what's true and what's false. Yeah. So that we need that, because that is the only way we can get them to be responsible and not to just share the information that they receive on their smartphones. Because that is the biggest obstacle that we have now, or challenge that we have now as we go to the elections.
We're coming up to the end of our conversation, but I wanted to ask you, elections are coming up in Sierra Leone, I think this year?
Yes, in June, less than 2 months.
In a couple of months.
Yes,
in less than 2 months. Often we see in Africa, when during election periods there's this clashes between the media and the government, police, security agencies. Yes. What kind of relationships do you have between the security agencies, and are these some of the conversations you're having as you're leading up to the
wonderful? Those are the conversations, and we're happy that we started it not now. We started about 2 years before now, because the biggest in terms of assault and harassment and challenge, apart from online, which basically comes from supporters of political parties. But the biggest one we have is the one with the police. The relationship has been that of a cat and mouse over the years, for the past 50 years since LAJ was formed. And then, so what we did was to engage them. Okay, let's go to the table. So under my leadership, we approached them. We said, let's go to the table. And they have an umbrella body called the Office of National Security, which basically houses all of them, the police, the army, the fire force, and the correctional center. And so they brought them all together. And we made an appeal. We said, you are providing security for the public and for us. And we are providing information, which is also vital. So we are all contributing to democracy. So let's have a memorandum of understanding where you can support us to do our work. We will support you to do your work. And let's avoid these clashes of yes. But I think when the clashes only come in when we begin to be partisan, that's when the clashes come. Yes. But we have got an MOU that and before I came, we had training for police officers and for journalists together, so that we have the do's and don'ts. When you go to the elections, you should know what to do as a journalist, and when you go to elections as a police officer, you should know what to do to help journalists to get the information. Yes, and so we have appealed to our colleagues. You cannot be a journalist and be a politician as well. Yes, because once you go there and and those around there know that you are a politician, you are supporting a political party, definitely you become a target. Yes.
30 seconds before we go, Ahmed. World Press Freedom Day, what is your message to journalists, but also to the people, to your consumers?
Yes, we'll continue to appeal for responsibility, responsible journalism, and let journalists know that they have a mission, and their mission is to the public. It's public interest journalism. That is what we want to do. And what we're going to do this time on World Press Freedom Day, not even if not on a day, but to commemorate World Press Freedom Day, we have decided that we are going to launch our own manifesto. What we want as media, what the media wants. Because we know that the politicians will have their own manifesto about the media, but that is what they think the media wants. But what we want, that's why we are now conducting a survey, asking our journalists, what are your priorities? On safety and security, what is your priority? On inclusion, gender, what is your priority? On capacity building, what are your priorities? Give us the information, and we'll put that together into a draft manifesto. We call all the stakeholders together, we validate it, and then we launch it on a day that we all agree on.
Ahmed,
so we tell them what we want. This is what we want as media.
Yeah. Ahmed, thank you so much for taking time to come and visit us here at the Voice of America.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you, man.
Yes, thank you so much.